Well, thank you. And thank you all for being here today. We really appreciate you joining us. We're excited to give you an update on our network science collaboration, to tell you a little bit about this past academic year, to share with you our plans for this summer and the coming fall, and then to also engage you in a discussion about synergies you see, as well as ideas you might have around dissemination avenues. But before we get started, as Scott said, we do have a hard stop at 4 because we have meetings coming up after that. But before we get started, I would like to do just really quick introductions or reintroductions. So Chong, could you stop sharing screen just for a moment? And what I'd like to do is just have everybody do a really quick introduction, and I can start. My name is Kimberly Howard. I'm a faculty member at BU in the Wheelock College of Education and Human Development. Really excited to have you all here. Now, to make this organized, what I can do is I can just go around and kind of call on you as I see you on my screen, if that works. Okay, great. Jasmine?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jasmine Flete. I am the Senior STEAM Team Program Coordinator at Sociedad Latina.
Great, thanks. Scott?
Hi, Scott Solberg, professor at Boston University.
Great. Paul, then Chong.
Paul Trunfio, Boston University Physics Department.
Chong Park, a research scientist at BU Wheelock.
Great. Angelica, then Mika.
Hello, everyone. Angelica Rodriguez, STEM Pathways Manager at Sociedad Latina.
Hi everyone, I'm Mika. I'm an undergraduate student rising senior at BU, and I just joined the NetSci development team.
Yay! Oh, I gotta.
Yay.
Cecilia, then Luis.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Cecilia Nardi. I work in the Office of Government Community Affairs at Boston University.
Hi everyone, my name is Luis Esquivel, and I'm an incoming doctoral student in the counseling psychology program at BU.
Great. Livonia, then Lisa.
Hi, everyone. My name is Livonia Montute, and I'm with Edvestors.
And I'm Lisa Harney, and I'm with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
Great. Allison, then Bladine.
Hi, everyone. I'm Allison Little. I'm an Assistant Commissioner of P16 Alignment and Outreach at the Massachusetts Department of Higher Education, and I'm a PI of a NOICE grant called Mass Teach.
Hello, everyone. Bladine Bartholis, Director of Practice Innovations at Castle.
Thank you. Alexis, then John.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alexis Yume. I'm a rising second year on the school counseling track at BU Wheelock, and I'm working with Dr. Howard and Dr. Solberg on the Sociedad Latina lesson plan development. So hi, everybody.
I'm John Goodhue. I'm the Executive Director at the Massachusetts Green High Performance Computing Center in Holyoke.
Great, thank you. Joe, and then Ava.
Everyone, I'm Joe. I'm the Director of United Way's Boston Initiative.
And
Scott,
Ava,
do you want to do an introduction for Ava?
Yep. So Ava is one of our district administrators at Boston Public Schools and has moved into a really big position where she's probably on 3 calls right now. And so she did let me know that she'll be kind of in and out as she comes in, but so glad that it's just amazing to have you all. And I know how busy Bladine is, and Lisa and everybody, you're all so busy to just take a few moments. So really want to thank everyone for squeezing us in today. It's great.
That deserves this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All
Great.
right.
So Chong, could you share screen again? Thank you. So we are going to go ahead and dive into our update. So if you could advance it 1 slide. Great. And I'm going to turn this over to Paul and Scott now.
Okay. Paul, you want to get started?
Great. So let me just quickly say that we had this grand idea for how we were going to develop a network science curriculum for middle school students that was based off of our high school efforts that we did a couple of years prior. But because of COVID, we shifted and we had to sort of kind of take a minimalistic approach to the curriculum development. So what we did was we developed some sort of basic lessons that fit within Sociedad's 1-hour weekly activities that they had over the summer. and oriented them around three themes. One was chemistry, thinking about, networks in chemistry, the hydrogen bonds in water that are flickering on and off that yet keep the water all together. And then in physics, we talked about electron flow and electric circuits, and then use that as a metaphor to discuss the cardiovascular system. And then in biology, we talked about, we started to think about, the geometry of networks and how different parts of a network are connected to other parts of the network. And so we started then talking about how viruses can spread on a network of people that are connected to one another, and then how you can then immunize the spread of the virus by vaccinating people, and seeing how that all impacts a small scale network that is data driven by sort of a rough data sort of underlying data model, but not a big data model of real people in Boston and things like that. And our vision then for moving forward is that we have this curriculum development team for the summer, and Mika's one of these students that's working with us. And we're going to build on these sort of three pillars to encourage more student engagement and students being able to do their own sort of planning for kind of the research projects they can engage in that are data driven. So that's it in a nutshell for the STEM piece.
Right, thanks, Paul. And so part of what makes our work unique is the synergy between having the STEM, really advanced STEM access to these great lessons. And as we're continuing to work with Sociedad and playing a big role in how to design and bring this to youth, and then adding in a career development that follows. So we're trying to find what are the advanced learning that's taking place, and what can we then transfer into skills that then transfer into the world of work. And so this spring, we took some of the lessons that we had piloted in summer. We added a new one called Optimizing Your Learning, because it was clear that youth were struggling within COVID to just have attention, just to kind of stay energized. And so we created a lesson, and Jasmine and team just did an amazing job in bringing it down into that middle school and making it more culturally and linguistically sustaining as a practice. And then we have the Who Am I and Personal Roadmap we kind of started piloting in the summer, and we'll continue to do some work on that in the summer as well. You saw Alexis is on here, and Luis. We have one other and a team that we're putting together to really start advancing some of these lessons. Now that we've tried them out, there's some areas we want to move as we go forward. But I wanted to invite Angelica to talk about a really cool thing that happened out of all this. So you figure they've learned about STEM, but specifically network science, and even more specifically about COVID and the role that disease, how it spreads as a network, and how vaccines come in and challenge that network and shut it down. So they had all this in the fall. We then did some spring activities to keep them energized and help them kind of see the relevance to the world of work. And then why don't you take it from there, Angelica?
Yes, thank you, Scott. So like Scott said, we were able to have the youth engage in a civic engagement project. So it was a session-long project focused on the COVID-19 vaccine in particular. So the students or the youth were able to use everything that they learned from the fall within networks, that understanding of the disease and how the vaccine works within the network of COVID-19, to then use in their own identified skills and talents. Through this civic engagement, there was a process of a few different committee groups where the youth were able to use their own choice and voice to choose which committee group they would like to be part of based on their own interests. Within those committee groups, in which we'll talk about more later on in the slides, there were specific roles, and from there we'll later on hear from a few youth on that, which was very, very awesome. But overall, to prepare for the civic engagement project, the youth met weekly using information they collected and resources about COVID-19 vaccine. They also use information from Q&As that we had with local professionals who were vaccinated and that shared their experiences, along with information that they got from their own families who have been vaccinated, along with staff within Sociedad Latina. And just again, through a variety of lessons that involved the learning about virology and using the vac simulation, which was also part of one of a gamification of how to use a vaccination within, the network of diseases. They were, again, able to understand all that and really share the importance of why we in this community should get vaccinated. So they created this public service announcement video in which we are proud to share with you next.
And before you press the button, so what I want to do is just frame it as part of the MyCap process. So as Lisa knows, one of the big areas is work-based learning. And one of the big themes we've been pushing in work-based learning is how civic engagement is building leadership skills, it's building competencies, and it's the kind of thing that transcends across the academics, because we're really giving them a chance to grow in ways that they can find their voice and they can find a sense of power. And so this is just such a great example of what we mean by civic engagement, but also as a work-based learning process. So thanks, Angelica. Go ahead.
Hey,
Hey, what's up?
man, have you seen the news?
No, what's going on?
That vaccine, I'm so scared of it
Why?
because of the side effects. Have you heard of what's been happening with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine? People have been getting blood clots, man. I don't want that.
Man, don't be like that. No one has died from the vaccine, and only like 6 people from hundreds of thousands have ever gotten bad side effects. I got the vaccine, and so did my mom, and we're just fine.
Wait, you got the COVID vaccine? When?
Yeah, dude. I got mine on the 24th of March. I got the Pfizer, and it's the worst thing that happened to me was a sore arm and a headache for literally only a day.
How were you even able to get an appointment? It's so exclusive. And how do I pick which vaccine I want?
What? It's the easiest process ever. Just go to www.vaxfinder.mass.gov. You can sign up for the vaccine right there.
Oh, okay. But I don't want to go into a clinic and be exposed to COVID.
It will be okay. All you have to do is wear a proper mask, wash your hands often for at least 20 seconds, and remain 6 feet apart from everyone, and you should be fine. Don't be whack. Get vaxxed.
Yeah, I'll go get vaxxed. Let me call the number. Get the vaccine now because you just said a cringy line.
So we saw in this video at the moment while they were working at this project, this is when there was just a lot of theoretical things going on regarding the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So they were like, hey, let's focus on that since everybody got scared of the vaccination because of what was being said of Johnson & Johnson. But overall, the goal of this video was just to encourage folks from the community and their families and friends to go ahead and get vaccinated. That's just the best for the community. But next, we are actually going to be hearing 3 youth testimonials, 1 youth from each committee. So like I previously said, there were 3 committees. And we have a representative from the Visuals Committee, Brad, that's going to briefly share what the role was in that committee and how he was able to use his skills.
The Visual Committee, we work together. Wait, did I start at the wrong thing?
No, it's good. In the Visuals Committee, yeah.
In the Visual Committee, we work together to come up with a visual board for how we want our video to look, okay, like we work closely with the film committee and the other to make this mission happen. Our vision was a conversation between two people that talked about the vaccine. We wanted to make a realistic conversation that we had all heard about the vaccine. I was able to use my creativity skills in order to contribute to the video. It was super fun being able to see all of our ideas come to life to make a video that super important for the community and talks about how important the vaccine is.
So here we were able, to hear Brad. He is an English language learner. So there was also, that addition to this civic engagement project where he was able to go out of his comfort zone to actually present in a second language that's not native to him. So he was also able to build those linguistic skills as well. So we're very proud of Brad and his team. Next, we're going to be hearing from Deja, which is going to talk about the roles in the note-taking committee and how she was able to use her skills.
In our group, we worked together to keep track of all of the items we needed for our final project. We worked together to find data, deliver surveys, and let the other teams know what is missing. We wanted to support the other committees in finding accurate information about COVID and a vaccine so that we can deliver the right information in the video. As a note taker, I used my organization skills to take notes during our committee meetings that I would share with everyone else so that we are on the same page.
So lastly, we have Halem, who represented the film committee. And Halem, as she's gonna explain, was actually the one who put the PSA video together and did the animations. So we're gonna hear from her now.
In the film community, we worked together to record and produce the video. We took the information given to us from the note-taking committee and the visual plan given to us from the visuals committee to put together a video that talks about the importance of the vaccine. I used my drawing, video editing, and production skills to put the whole video together. It was a really cool opportunity to get to use my hobbies to make something so important for the community. I am proud of this video and proud of my committee for helping put this together. It is a very fun project.
So this was honestly the best first time of us doing. It was a great experience, and this is definitely not going to be the last. We definitely have more to come. Next year, we will be continuing to focus on incorporating more of a research-based civic engagement project where the youth will be able to research just like they did with this one, gathering information from events, guest speakers, lessons, and more, along with using their own talents, their skills, their own voice to support the project and sharing within the community. So this was very empowering, but also just to see how everything just naturally came together and just seeing the youth product at the end. So next, we're going to just talk a little bit about the collective impact, and we're going to have Jasmine Flete talk a little bit about the Campus Without Walls and our engagement with that.
Hello, everyone. So Sociedad Latina had the amazing privilege to serve 44 7th grade students across 7 classrooms at the O'Brien School through Campus Without Walls. So Campus Without Walls allowed us to offer synchronous remote access to advanced learning opportunities. It is a framework that leverages the power of public schools and technology to promote greater equity, access, opportunity, and liberation for all students. The goal is for all students to be intrinsically motivated to gain greater access and take full advantage of a wide range of learning opportunities that prepare them to thrive in a rapidly changing digital world during COVID and beyond. We met with our youth on OutSchool every Monday for 6 weeks during students' advisory periods. And for students that were unable to attend for reasons including maybe sick time or technical difficulties, there were asynchronous versions of our lessons available also on OutSchool, which is the platform that we use to engage and host our students. So the product of our collaboration with Boston University reached greater audiences, including BPS, Boston Public Schools. Our MyCap lessons have been used by BPS as part of professional development trainings. And through our lessons, over 40 adult mentors have been trained, a number that truly reflects the impact and meaningfulness of our work. I'll let Scott talk a little bit more about the RCT study.
Yes, so this was an interesting another thing that happened. We got approached from this, it's a program from Harvard that works with rural districts. They have a rural district network, and they have 79 districts in New York and Ohio that agreed to do a randomized control trial around this career development work, and they selected our lessons to trial. So we're really excited. They're using the Who Am I lesson specifically, and they took what the great work that Sociedad Latina did in taking it from Livonia's Advestors, where they helped us kind of get the first part started, and then Sociedad took it, and then Harvard did a third version. And each of the versions are all similar, but they're just adding a little more to it. And the Harvard one really looks good. We're going to be coming back to that, what they did with it. And so this idea of having open access, open free access to the lessons is really paying off, because we're seeing other visions and other ways that other groups can make this work. But I wanted to, I know with the transformative mentoring, I was hoping, Ava, if you are available, I was hoping to have, I know Bladine's got a moment with us before she heads out. And I know that Bethany's going to join us later, and Bethany is the kind of the project leader on this right now, but Ava, it was Ava's brainchild. So maybe Ava, you could just talk a little bit about how you see the work we're doing with Sociedad connecting to this larger district effort. And then maybe Bladine, if you have a moment, I know you've got to go in just a second, but I'm so excited, as you know, because I keep saying each time we talk about it, about the missing link in our work, which is how do we help the educator, the facilitator, do this work with a really good cultural lens, aware of racism, aware of their own bias. And Bladine is just, it's just amazing to see this coming through this. So I'll stop there and I see Ava nodding. So she's ready. I can see that.
It started with the reality that we just don't have enough guidance counselors helping our students navigate the journey from middle school to high school and high school and beyond. The other reality was that our teachers are in front of our educators every day, in front of our students every day, and there's a large number of adults in the school that may not have that role of guidance counselor that can be trained and work in community to mentor young people through their life development stages so they can start thinking early about career, college, community, connectivity, and beyond. And we knew we needed the right partners at the table. So one was Scott Solberg, who had already been leading the work of my career in academic planning throughout BPS. Another partner was Sociedad Latina, who had been working with around how to translate this into culturally linguistically sustaining ways of interacting with students about a future that does not represent them in the media the way that it doesn't represent us in the media. To allow us to create a full image of ourselves in future roles. And Castle, who had already done some deep thinking and work with Boston Public Schools around transformative cell practices. And so I'll hand it over to my colleague, Bladine.
Thank you, Ava. I think the only thing I would add to that is what we were able to collaborate around regarding this mentoring program is how do we help mentors reflect on and identify the positioning and the stance that they have when they're serving young people. what are some of the aspects in terms of their perspective, their point of view, their understanding, their biases that might be impacting the way that they show up with young people and the way that they're able to create spaces that are culturally affirming for the students that they serve. And so this really allowed us to think about the different moves that adults can make to be reflective about their processes, to create space for young people to have voice and to have agency, to begin to think about how do we shift the power dynamics within a relationship so that young people are able to show up fully as themselves and to be able to provide feedback to adults in a way that typically they're not given room to do so. So we really approach this as a co-learning, co-designing opportunity. And oftentimes when we talk about agency, we don't always talk about the way that adults have to become comfortable changing the way that they typically relate to young people. And I always say, I deal with that discomfort all the time, having a 15-year-old or now 16-year-old who I would like to be able to be fully prepared to engage in the world once he leaves, like my covering. So this was really about how do we create that space for adults to learn about the areas that they maybe have not focused on in the past, understand their own social, emotional, and cultural competency, and what is the capacity that needs to be built around that, and how do we develop the types of relationships that really allow young people to thrive, not just when they're with us, but once they leave us and really can become civic-minded, social justice-oriented young people as well.
Thank you, Bloody, and I apologize. I should have introduced you as Dr. Barthelis because you deserve that, and it's wonderful. It's so exciting to have had this collaboration with you, and just can't wait to see it keep growing. But this was amazing. There were almost 1,000 students that were touched by all of this work. That was not on our design board when we started working this year, and it was because of Ava's vision and having amazing partners like Castle and specifically Bloodine working with it. But there are other staff members in BPS that are so incredibly impressive in the work they're doing. It's just everywhere we turn, there's just great passion and really great stuff. So, and the Campus Without Walls was just another great thing. And I have to say, for me, probably the most fun thing I had, and she doesn't know this, was watching Jasmine do this. Just amazing. She's up there in front of all these teachers, presenting how to do my cap, confident, get it out there. It was amazing to be a part of. Okay, someone else can talk now.
Great, thank you, everyone. So we'll go on to the next slide. And Chong, I think that this one is yours.
Sure. So our plan for summer in the fall, the new academic year, is redesigning and advancing our network science and MyCat lessons based on the feedback we have received so far. So the physics team has already identified 7 undergrad and grad students who will be supporting the redesign of the network science lessons. And for MyCap lessons, our team at the Center for Future Readiness with the 3 graduate students has been really establishing a structure for redesigning and adding new elements to the existing lessons. Some of the new topics that we have been exploring together, including critical consciousness, leadership skills, developing LinkedIn portfolio, and so forth. Lastly, our evaluation strategies also based on the lessons we learned so far in the fall and spring. We'll focus on making the survey questions more concrete so that it's easier for the youth to understand. And we are also leaning towards having more in-depth qualitative understanding of the experience of individual youth. So we'll be using the positive youth development approach and understanding the impact of the lessons, as well as conducting case studies of how MyCap is being used across the state.
Awesome. It was great to watch Joe just walk out into outer space. I thought he was going to jump on a planet there. That's amazing, that background. There he is. Great. So before we do small discussion, did you want to take a few minutes for any questions or clarifications, given everything we just talked about? I mean, this is a lot of
Great. Yep.
a lot of stuff.
Any questions or things that you'd like us to speak to more before we move into discussion?
I guess the question I have for next or this upcoming year is, are you planning to continue to do remote, hybrid, virtual? It seems like there was a lot of advantage in actually being able to reach so many students. With virtual, I'm just curious to know about that plan for next year.
Yeah, I think the answer is yes. And it's almost like we have to design for all three. So and it's because some of the teachers really felt and are giving us feedback. One of the things we didn't talk about, we actually had students come in and evaluate. This was based on the transformative mentoring. There was a student interns. They went through all our lessons and gave us a very critical evaluation, and they wanted more interaction. They wanted more things. But we also brought a great group, and Lisa was on that as well, and Livonia and Neva brought a team together to really look at the lessons from an educator standpoint. We had students there too and write out the design specifications, and they're basically calling for all three. We want to be able to deliver the lessons in an asynchronous way. And you heard Ava say there aren't enough counselors, so maybe it's a homework assignment. We've got advisories in place, so we can do small group. We can do it we could do it both in a remote, we can do it in person. So this is now the complexity of the design going forward, is to be thinking about how this can be done in those multiple ways. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
John?
It's maybe a different way of asking the same question. You could be thinking about this summer and more in September as overlaying what you've learned on business as usual, or you could think of it kind of as integrating the ability to be in person on what you've been doing over the last year. I'm just wondering how you're, which way you're thinking about it.
I think we're thinking right now about the in-person part. And so Paul and Jasmine and Angelica have been really talking about, especially around the STEM lessons, needing to have an in-person component to it. It's going to be hybrid. So we're probably going to keep the MyCap lessons and more of a virtual, but because we can do more of the science activities in person and there's a richness to that, we're moving in that direction right now. And then we'll have to see how that plays out with fall coming up. I think with the PowerPoint piece that we have, it's easy to flip that into a group, in class, in-person experience. I don't think it's going to be too difficult, but we'll be working with Jasmine, Isaiah, and Angelica to make sure we can do that and what that would look like.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, we should probably say something about the new facilities that you have at Sociedad. They redesigned the building, or I don't know what it's called, like a reconstruction. And as part of that reconstruction, there's a makerspace. So as soon as they said makerspace, and we're talking about, electric circuits and, pretending that electrons are moving around in a circuit. And now, of course, we can have circuits in front of students. They can connect wires. And so, hopefully the maker, them actually working with real experiments will connect to what the sort of networks and data stuff that they're looking at separately.
Right.
Yes, definitely. Like Paul said, this is actually the first time we're gonna have our building reopened at the same time as having that in-person component in the summer. So our youth will have like that small group in-person component with the network science. And like Paul said, they'll actually be able to use the circuits in front of them or STEM kits as a group, working together by having their own individual set, but yet collaborate in a group way. So it's definitely unique this summer, and this is definitely something we look forward to, and I'm sure the youth are gonna love it.
Awesome. Any other comments before we kind of move into a discussion? We're good? Bob, everything good? All right, and Lisa, good? All right. And Joe? Didn't hear from you yet? Okay, great. So
Scott, we're going to turn it over to Cecilia now.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So thank you for all of your questions and comments so far. I think, at this point where we are in the project, a couple of things that we are curious to get your thoughts and feedback on are what you see on the slide here, which is sort of our synergy so far, our collective impact, and perhaps, how to deepen that. And I think what goes hand in hand with that is sort of advice on disseminating information about this. I think one of the goals of this project is that, it's already been tremendous with the virtual capabilities that we've been sort of thrust into, but sharing this work and other partners who might see value in this, and as Scott had mentioned previously, who might be able to build upon this as well. So would love your thoughts on that.
And you can use the chat as well if you just want to throw down some ideas, but we'd love to hear about more collective impact ideas. I know, Lisa, you've got the middle school coming online now for the MyCap. So ways that we can be considering the MyCap lessons that they've been using at the middle school is maybe an additional resource would be fabulous. And then also dissemination. I think one of the challenges is how do we get this out and make it available, right? I will tell you, it's really funny story, and Livonia remembers it. One time, the EdVestors website went down when the lessons were up. We had only had them up. We didn't have all the associate data up yet. And we had like 2 calls in the first hour it was down. People saying, hey, we can't get into the lesson. So that was like an indicator that something was happening out there. People were really, going to them and meeting them. But we have them now in 2 sections, right? We've got them all over the place. And we need to find a way to get them into one.
So if I can ask a question, since Scott knows I'm not shy to talk. So one question is, these lessons, when they were being done at Sociedad, was it part of the school day, or were these part of the after school and summer programs?
Yeah, these were part of the after school and summer programs. So the part that Jasmine was talking about, the Campus Without Walls, that was a piloted initiative that we were able to have the opportunity to be able to share the work we're doing with multiple students during the school day. So that was the only school day component we've had so far. But internally in our program, it is after school and the summer program.
Okay.
Angelica, the transformative mentoring was also during the school day. So they were doing it during groups.
Yeah, I know that's part of the BPS stuff. I was talking to Bethany today, actually. So good. That was good I got a little confused when we started talking about this, the School Without Borders, because I thought this was the after school and summer programs.
Yeah.
And so from my perspective, being DESE person that is overseeing some of this work, is kind of the next phase. Now that we've got a middle school scope and sequence ready to launch, will be, how do we capture all of these kinds of things, right? And how do we build a toolkit that we can then, as you say, disseminate with a lot of other people? So it's not there, it's not happening yet, but it's certainly on the horizon of the needs of things to help this progress and be available outside of just Sociedad and BPS.
Right. And Bethany just joined us. I hope your ears are burning because we've been talking about you a lot, and just reflecting on the transformative mentoring process. We've already introduced it, and Ava and Ladine did a great job of talking about it along with Jasmine and Angelica. So thank you. But thank you, Bethany, for squeezing us in. I know you're really busy as well. We're talking about ways to add more collective impact and ways to disseminate. So kind of, I know these are the questions we've all been having. So I'm meeting with Bethany and Ava and with Livonia and others in PPS as well. Allison, you had a thought? Oh, go ahead, Ava, I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't want to interrupt. I was just queuing up Bethany. I don't see her. Is she here?
She's here, yep.
Oh, okay. Oh, there you are. Hi, Bethany. I'll just sort of say a little bit about collective impact, and then I have to hop off and hand it over to Bethany and others. And so part of the collective impact strategy was the hiring of Bethany, who's, although I'm not the Deputy Chief of Equity and Strategy anymore, and moved over to the Chief Accountability role, Bethany came here with a lot of deep-rooted community connection and deep connections to the Boston Public Schools. And I say that to say that sort of grain size matters in terms of what that connectivity looks like among and between the people. There's a critical mass that we need in order to have anything in Boston Public Schools be successful. And I think all the partners on this call know that deeply. And so Bethany came with that capital to help make it work. And together, we involved not just one office from Boston Public Schools, but several offices to make it a cross-division work. So the Office of Social Emotional Learning, the Office of Hub Schools, the Office of Strategy, and Offices of Opportunity Gaps. And there were other offices involved in that work, and Bethany could say a little bit more about that. But it's the Office of Career Readiness. Can't forget Marsha Ennis Mitchell, who was key in this. And then we were also working with Campus Without Walls as part of our project sort of initiatives that we oversaw. And so by creating connectivity between these spaces, it's like they hold each other up and reinforce each other. And I'm sure Bethany could say a lot more about collective impact, because in fact, that's the work that she came from. And I knew that when I brought her on board. And so it makes me very happy to know that after I left this space, officially, the space continues. And I'm planning on connecting this to the work that I'm responsible for transformation schools, the 33 lowest performing schools. So this work continues to grow. I thank all of you for playing the roles that you've played, some of which I don't even know behind the scenes to make this happen. And I'm going to leave it in Bethany's hands to finish that point better than I would have made it. All right, see you all later. Thank you.
Thanks, Bethany. If you want to, thank you, Ava. And Bethany, if you want to jump on, that was quite a tee up, I think.
I honestly, I'm not even sure that I can follow that. That was great. And I'm coming from a series of other meetings. I was actually at a meeting with Lisa earlier today. So I've just been spinning around and around this afternoon, but I think that, you know, the thing that I want to say, and I'm not sure if this is what you're looking for, or if I can just speak about the experience more broadly. What I want to say is that I came to BPS in January, and, you know, there was this pilot transformative mentoring that I was sort of charged with launching, and you know, I think in the time that we're in, with so much uncertainty and so much going on in the world, we ran a really successful pilot this spring, engaging around 70 school-based staff, mostly classroom teachers, but some other folks as well, some administrators, some counselors, 70 school-based staff, and nearly 1,000 students, 1,000 young people. And it was pretty profound. It was pretty incredible what we were able to do, and the growth that I saw from the school-based staff that we were working with around really thinking about their relationships with young people and how and what they were doing to prepare them for the future, but also how to support them right now. And the other thing that I think I want to just comment on really quickly is that, you know, a lot of the school-based staff that we, you know, people opted into this work, right? People opted into being mentors, and they already had, in many cases, relationships with young people that they felt were really strong. And even so, a lot of them talked about like what they learned and how they grew in their understanding of relationships and being in relationship with young people in a way that supported what young people need and centered young people. And that really, you know, it just was really incredible and profound and powerful to hear from teachers across the board, and to see them showing up, you know, week after week, really dedicated and excited about this work. And Scott can say this too, because he was in all the PDs. We would always end with the optimistic closure, and just asking folks for a word about how they were feeling about the work. And it was so often excited, you know, engaged, energized. And we were having these PDs at like 6 p.m. at night after, you know, a day of teaching, and hearing teachers leaving energized, excited, engaged, hopeful. It was just really inspiring for me. And I think, you know, I can speak for the other folks that were involved as well.
Absolutely. And I think what was also exciting was hearing watching what people were doing with the MyCap lessons, and hearing the stories of how it was facilitating that relationship, as we thought. And it's always innovative, and it's always the first adoption. So there's still those that are still wondering. But even in those conversations, when they hear how others were doing it, you could see their energy lift in terms of hope and connection. So yeah, it was really inspiring. Beth and I have spent a lot of time together this semester, and it's been amazing to watch and be a part of the work. It's been great to watch how Bethany puts all these pieces together. So thank you for that. I think that, you know, the one, I know we're running out of time, and we do have a hard stop at 4, but I wanted to just, the collective impact and the idea of dissemination it's here. And it's not as though that we were ready. We were thinking this summer we would begin this process. And instead it began with the Classroom Without Walls of transformative mentoring, people hearing about it. Lisa having Harvard connect up with us because she said, "Oh, go talk to Scott." And then they take it off and do a randomized control study. This is happening really quickly. And I mean, it's exciting. It's really exciting. But we're also feeling like now we have multiple partners and perspectives that we want to make sure are included in the design, you know, as well as thinking about how we can move this through. So within, Marcia has given, Marcia Innes, who's in the district, who's kind of like the head of the MyCap in the district, really wants us, this group and myself, to design the middle school through high school kind of scope and sequence. How can it look? And then they'll obviously tighten it up, but to take a lead in making that happen. But what that means, we have a high school component in all of the schools, and you heard Ava talk about the transformative schools. So not only deepening the work with the high schools, but specifically more coaching with the transformative. And then also we're getting feedback from our team with Bethany, and there's a lot of interest in making sure these are more culturally responsive. How do we help educators, in this case mentors, help youth have a conversation about cultural identity and make that the foundation as they start thinking forward? These are such exciting questions, and we've got a group of people, and some of them are here, Alexis as well, really wanting to join in on that conversation. So when we talk about a collective impact now, we're also talking about how can we create an organizational structure to do that. And so I'm going to show you, you're the first to see it. The team hasn't even seen this. I'm just putting it out there. If I can figure out how to do that, let me put the thing up. Oh, there it is. That we need a coordinating structure. This is what they're saying in the collective impact literature. We need a coordinating structure if we're going to be able to really maximize this opportunity. And really reflecting on the user experience of those that are involved in the process. So getting more student feedback. You're starting to see today, I hope you saw student voice leading the process, and we want student voice to be leading and being a part of the process. So we're really hoping to do more with students' engagement in this, but also family, and bringing family in to really reflect on it. And then the design input would be broadly. So Lisa, you've got the middle school scope and sequence of things going on. So how do we make sure that as we're designing, you're on our shoulder as we're talking about it, but also you're part of the team as we, start considering the design elements. The BPS educators, we have so many creative, really talented individuals there that are going to make this great. And then youth serving organizations. So Sociedad Latina at the top, but what are the other organizations that are coming in that want to be, listening in and being part of it as well? And then starting to look at the indicators and starting to measure how well we're getting depth of engagement and use at these different levels. So this is kind of like my just initial thought about the problem we have. It's setting it up so that there's a coordinating function, but it's coordinating voice and it's coordinating inclusion in all of these different pieces. And I've talked with our team, Luis and Alexis, that if they're leading a project, what they're doing is facilitating those dialogues to make sure that the work we're doing is responsive to the different needs and the different activities. So just it's kind of and as I said, I didn't even show the team this, but it's the kind of direction I'm trying to think about how we can really create that organizing structure, because this summer is critical. By fall, we need the transformative mentoring ready to go bigger. We've got the high schools going bigger, and at Sociedad, we want to have more evidence-based practices going forward that we're feeling good about as well. So there's it just feels like a pressure point that we can really do something really transformative in this work. I'll stop there. So Lavone, you had a great comment. So can we start demonstrating what lesson implementation looks like so that others can see it? I think that's a fabulous idea. I really do. I think it's good. What I will say, and this is one of the challenges to translation science, is helping schools really organize their time and resources to adopt the MyCap, right? Or adopt the STEM and MyCap piece. And so what happens is when they see the lessons, it actually invites that adoption, because they can see something tangible, and they can see how it goes. So I had one principal try to say he wasn't ready yet, my district, it's been a tough year. And then I showed the lessons, and, oh, we could do that. Oh yeah, I've got 5 or 6 staff that can start with that. Oh, we're going to start now. And so they're coming. So this idea of giving this tangible quality is actually helping schools, I think, really move into this space a little bit more. And what Lisa and I have been really working hard on is, in Livonia, Bethany nailed it by who's the choir, who wants to come in and join and start with them and let them test it out, get the story down, and then others are going to come in, in time. So same process. Anyway, I will stop talking. Chi or Bob or Joe, any comments?
Something I just kind of want to bring up for folks, if you're planning to bring this into schools, especially in the middle school space in the next 2 years, you're going to have a really, really tough time. I don't know if anyone knows this, but Boston Public Schools Science Department is implementing the first new curriculum in like 15 years called Open Sci-Ed throughout the district. And it's going to be a significant shift for science teachers. And they are really trying to pump the brakes on any in-school partners that would be taking up class time, so that it doesn't interfere with that implementation. So that's not to say stop the presses, but be very, very aware of that, and could end up being a significant barrier in that age range for implementation. So I would recommend either trying other districts or focusing on high school, where things are a little bit more the wild west right now. Just have that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, and I think Joe, we started this as an after-school project with the idea that we would invite educators in as we got ready. And I think what Bob, something you said when we first started that has stuck with me, and I've been stealing it from you ever since, and I'm sure you got it somewhere as well. But the idea of it being a push-in activity. So we're not trying to provide the whole everything. We're trying to provide push-in activities that can go along. And I think if they've got their own science part, that's awesome. We can add the MyCap in then to supplement, so they can see how their skills are actually improving their future quality of life. So I think there's things we could probably still do, Joe, as we're kind of having the conversation. But no, we wouldn't want to take over lessons if they've got a whole plan going. But there may be some ways that we can supplement. I think Bob was next, and then Lisa.
Yeah, my comment was going to be right in that space, Scott, is that I think what's so heartening is that what you're finding is what you have preached and Lisa has preached to me, at least for many years, which is this should be an incorporative activity, not a sideload activity. And that if it's in, new science curriculum, it's showing the value to students of the science curriculum. It's having them think about why they're learning the science curriculum, how that might provide them an opportunity in the future, or in a career, or in a college and career pathway. And whether it's in a traditional academic setting or thinking about those push-ins in after-school programs run by community organizations or by schools, I think the more places you can push in these snippets, the more chances you have of seeing the light bulb. It clearly has turned on for the students we heard about today. the more places you can do that, the more chances you got that first step. And then particularly at that key important decision point, younger in that 6th to 8th or 6th to 10th grade level, because ultimately the value of this is that students understand that getting to their career may require further education, and they can make informed decisions to get there. And I think that's why as many places you can replicate, scale, push in, or whatever the term is, the better it's going to be for families and students. So, I mean, I think you're definitely on the right, you're going down the right road, and you're having the early successes. That I think that's the stuff that replicates, is people see that it's not a major undertaking. And that's the key, is I can do this. I'm a teacher, I can do this. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. So Open SciAd coupled with this is a great opportunity.
Yeah, I think, Bethany, let's swing back on that and the BU team as well, that if we can figure out what they're doing in the science, we can adapt the lessons we have to make sure that they can start examining the skills they're learning in those lessons and learn how that applies to the world of work. And in doing so, we can connect that relationship up. So I think it would be an easy win on our end, not to try to take over the STEM part of it, but certainly the translation piece. Lisa, and then we're gonna probably be right at that moment of.
So 1 second, you know my mantra, Scott, that MyCap is not about just doing activities to get kids to careers. MyCap is holistic. It's about the personal, social, career development, and academic success of the students in all 3 of those domains. And MyCap should be capturing all of that. So the lesson should, shouldn't just be that MyCap lesson. Should be, or that lesson is for MyCap. It should be that those science lessons are all part of the students' plan as they progress towards their goals.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
All right. Well, I think we're ready to wrap up. Is that right, Professor Howard? Are we?
Yes, thank you all so much for spending this time with us today, for listening to our update, and for engaging with us in discussion about where we're going and the ideas that you have. We're furiously taking notes, and thankfully we've recorded this, and that we'll also have the chat so that we can follow up on all of your suggestions. We really appreciate all of your time today.
Awesome. Really do. Thank you so much, everybody.
Great.
Very exciting. All right.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.